Tonight, Minority Chief Whip fights back after Ghana Bar Association president branded him irresponsible for attacking former Chief Justice.
Such a statement was unfortunate and grossly irresponsible.
I stand by my word. You don't have to go to law school to understand certain things don't make sense. So he can sit at the comfort of his law firm or anywhere and say anything. His statement is worse than being responsible. He doesn't understand processes in Parliament.
We have the latest as the Ghana Bar Association demands utmost respect for Ghana's judiciary as they commemorate the gruesome murder of 3 High Court judges 41 years ago.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. The judiciary has today been commemorating the gruesome murder of 3 High Court judges 41 years ago. But not even the solemn occasion has averted a clash between the president of the Ghana Bar Association and the Minority Chief Whip. The GBA president, Yao Boafo Champon, has branded comments made by the NDC Chief Whip irresponsible after he attacked on the floor of Parliament the former Chief Justice in Inyeboa.
But I want to conclude and urge colleagues to support the approval of Justice Tokonu, simply because I think she's got what it takes to be a Supreme Court judge. And I am hopeful, Mr. Speaker, that she will be a better Chief Justice than the person she's taking over from. Why do I say this, Mr. Speaker? Under the reign of the outgoing Chief Justice, the level of miscarriage of justice in this country reached a crescendo and must never be repeated. And the former Chief Justice must know when he goes home, this miscarriage of justice rests on his chest.
Well, the GBA president took advantage of today's remembrance service in honor of the 3 judges murdered 41 years ago to call out the NDC Chief Whip, branding his comments irresponsible.
Hiding behind political interest to only ridicule and politicize judgments, but not from the angle of legal, scholarly, and constitutional appraisal of their decisions, unfairly and inappropriately lowers the dignity of our courts and hurts the rule of law. That is why it is totally unacceptable for a member of the leadership of the minority in Parliament, hiding ostensibly under the protection of parliamentary immunity granted by the 1993 Constitution, in supporting a motion solely to unanimously approve the nomination of the current Chief Justice, to launch an unwarranted attack on the person of the immediate Chief Justice, describing such a colossus of a jurist in derogatory terms. To wit, under the reign of the outgoing Chief Justice, the level of miscarriage in this country reached a crescendo and must never be repeated. And the former Chief Justice must know when he goes home, this miscarriage of justice rests on his chest. In the highly volatile partisan environment we unfortunately find ourselves, such a statement was unfortunate and grossly irresponsible, and it caused consternation among the rank and file of the GBA, especially when the author of the accusations failed to give particulars of the specific cases or decisions by the immediate past Chief Justice that occasioned the miscarriage of justice, and by what scientific tools he used to measure the level of miscarriage of justice under Chief Justice in Inyeboa.
Well, tonight, those comments you just heard there from the GBA president have attracted a strong reaction from the Minority Chief Whip, who has come out all guns blazing, defending his criticism of the former Chief Justice. We'll hear from him shortly, but first, legal affairs correspondent Joseph Akable joins me now with details. Now, Blay, you were at this event. Was the NDC Minority Chief Whip the only individual called out by the GBA president?
in terms of dropping hints or making attributions that leave one with no other conclusion than know who is being referred to, yes, it was only the minority chief whip who was identified to that extent. But he went a bit further on to talk about some individuals. He said in certain instances, it's very worrying that lawyers do same. And he was particularly worried about lawyers, he says, who should know better, who do not criticize the judges but go after them on a personal level. In actual sense, said that such lawyers even know the fact that there are means within the legal process to address their grievances, but nonetheless choose to mislead the public by hitting at judges in an unfair manner. He also talked about other individuals who are not lawyers, but simply because of their partisan positions, which sometimes are at variance with the conclusions that the court has reached on an issue, they go after the judges purely because of the fact that the conclusion of the court does not sit well with their political position on the matter.
I mean, what's he suggesting there? That judges and their work are above criticism?
Not at all, Evans. In fact, he was emphatic to make the point strongly that judges have to be subjected to criticism. He said that is how they improve upon the law, and that is how the law develops generally. But we ought to separate their judgments from the judges.
In my estimation, it is important that as a people, we try as much as possible to distinguish between and separate judges from their judgments. That is the boundary between fair and founded criticisms and unwarranted personal attacks on judges. The two should not be mixed. I believe it is a proposition familiar to all lawyers that judgments and decisions of our courts or judges can be questioned, scrutinized, debated, and criticized, albeit within the bounds of law, decency, and reasoning and scholarship. That is how the law has been nurtured and developed over time.
And Joseph, I see a lot of focus on what others say about judges. What about the conduct of judges, such as we saw in the Anas documentary years back? In a case like that, is the GBA president suggesting the judges themselves cannot be criticized?
In fact, the latter part of his speech centered on the conduct of judges, and he made a point that they occupy an important position, which means that they must do their utmost best to live above reproach, and that conduct that open them up to such attacks, corruption issues, and others are not conducts that judges should engage in.
At the other end of the spectrum, the GBA respectfully wishes to remind our judges at all the court levels that they, like Caesar's wife, must be above suspicion or reproach. Inasmuch as the GBA will continue to advocate for and defend the dignity, integrity, and independence of the judiciary, we implore our judges to endeavor to eschew all acts of impropriety, biases, improper influences, but work with fidelity to the judicial oath of doing justice to all manner of persons without fear or favor or affection of ill will. The GBA calls on Ghanaians to strive to be more resolute and fearless and vocal in defending the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary and the dignity of our judges, as they are a sine qua non in ensuring stable and effective constitutional order. It will ensure social and political stability in Ghana, necessary for our economic well-being and development, through the guarantee of effective accountability of other state institutions and actors of the realm. At least, when the chips are down, especially from the excesses of the two other arms of government, and we are at our wits' end and helpless.
Well, the GBA president, in criticizing the NDC minority chief whip, questioned the basis of his attack on the former chief justice, demanding further and better particulars that justifies that criticism.
Such a statement was unfortunate and grossly irresponsible, and it caused consternation among the rank and file of the GBA, especially when the author of the accusations failed to give particulars of the specific cases or decisions by the immediate past Chief Justice that occasioned the miscarriage of justice.
Well, Kwame Agbodza has been reacting tonight to what you just heard there, taking on a GBA president. My parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante, is with me in the studio. Kweku, you've been talking to Kwame Agbodza, the minority chief whip. Did he provide the particulars of the cases that he believes justifies his criticism of the former chief justice?
Yes, Evans. He goes on to say a number of the judges, the judgments under Enini Yeboah were miscarriage of justice, but he narrows down to two. The first one having to do with the NDC's case that went before the Supreme Court, having to do with the birth certificate. The court in that case ruled that birth certificate does not prove the nationality of the holder. Kwame Agboja also narrows down on the recent case involving their colleague Jachi Kwesin. He says those two judgments that were given under Justice Eniyebo as Chief Justice simply did not make sense.
Well, first of all, I haven't seen the publication, but I'm told a certain Boafo, is that the name? Boafo, a certain Boafo, who holds himself as the president of the Ghana Bar Association, an association I respect, and its members I respect a lot, was speaking at a function at UPSA where he made quite loose comments. I say loose comment because he doesn't understand the democracy we have and the processes in Parliament. He's even, I could say that he's disconnected from the sentiment in the country. It is true that under the stewardship of the former Chief Justice, Justice Eniyebo, certain pronouncements of the court have drawn the attention of the country. And by the way, you do not have to go to law school to understand that some of those rulings, let me repeat, don't make sense. They lack clarity to the individual in this country. And I am a citizen of this country. And I also have the right, not because I'm a member of parliament, and I also took part in criticizing the meaning of some of those rulings. First of all, I'm told he said I didn't provide any evidence. Let him be aware that Justice Dosu, who was an appeals court judge, did have reason to criticize the ruling on Jachi Kwesin. We had many other former justices who spoke in criticism of some of the rulings. I spoke specifically on the ruling of the Supreme Court on birth certificate, where till today, I am sure the judges who sat on that case probably thought, many of them probably would have been reviewing why the ruling makes sense. In a sense that, look, at the vetting, the respected current Chief Justice suggested that a birth certificate is not a proof, a complete proof of your nationality. And I'm saying that she got it wrong, because on the birth certificate, she even produced to Parliament during her vetting, which was procured in year 2000, clearly stated nationality, Ghanaian. And I'm saying that when you fill a birth certificate form in this country, if your parents do not fill the form suggesting they are Ghanaians, you will never get a certificate that suggests you are a Ghanaian. So what she said at the committee was not appropriate. And if that is the basis of why the Supreme Court ruled that the birth certificate is not proof of nationality, then they got it wrong. It is not based on anything on law. So for the current GBA president to suggest that I spoke irresponsibly, I thought he's lost the reality. And he probably spoke simply because I said under the stewardship of the Justice Enim.
Kweku, these are just two cases, but he made a bigger claim that under the former Chief Justice, the miscarriage of justice reached a crescendo. He still stands by that? He
does. He actually says that that is a view that he believes many Ghanaians share, and that if Yabuaf goes down to the people and asks what they think about the judiciary and the Yabuaf, that's a view he will find very popular.
All these things happen at that Justice Enim. So where else would I say it? And I stand by my word that under the stewardship of Justice Enim, I don't have any, in fact, I've never met him personally, certain rulings of the court were so problematic, and that shouldn't have happened. And Jachi Kwesin case is one, and that the birth certificate is one. So he can say you don't have to go to law school to understand certain things don't make sense. So he can sit at the comfort of his law firm or anywhere and say anything, but that doesn't change the fact that the bulk of the people in this country believe that at least those two cases, the rulings were inappropriate.
Do you agree, Leader, that they would say that the Chief Justice, though head of the judiciary, other judges will have to own accountability for the judgments they wrote, and that you can't put that on Justice Eniyebo?
Why can't you put it, when there's a problem in this country, who takes the blame ultimately? Yes, it's the president. When there's problem in parliament, they blame leadership of parliament, they blame speaker and other things. And I'm not saying, in fact, I've never said anywhere that Justice Eniyebo took personal decision. I said rulings under his stewardship as Chief Justice, and in that case, he sat on some of those panels. And Mr. Boafo should just understand that those rulings, nobody is going to run away from it. His statement is worse than being responsible. He doesn't understand processes in Parliament. The fact that he's a lawyer doesn't mean that he understands common sense than anybody else. And the fact that he doesn't even understand that there are surveys upon surveys that criticize the judiciary, criticize the executive, criticize Parliament. That means that he's still one of those people who feels that the judiciary is above criticism. And guess what? The Constitution does not prevent anybody from criticizing the executive, the judiciary, or Parliament. So the criticism shall happen. He can find other worse words to describe this, but for the sake of the fact that he occupies a position in an organization I respect, the Ghana Bar Association, I would only say that he doesn't understand what he's talking about. And if he goes to read those judgments himself, he would excuse himself from the things he said. And I repeat, those two judgments probably are the biggest miscarriages of justice in our country's history. And it happened under the stewardship of Justice Enin Yeboah. If he likes, he should write a book and write his feelings about those judgments and see whether he will say that he stands by those words.
And I want to now bring in spokesperson for the Ghana Bar Association, Xavier Kuju, joins us on the line right now. Xavier, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you too. And thank you for the opportunity.
You've heard the Minority Chief Whip's defense. He has now cited at least two specific cases that, of course, we heard the GBA president demand and refer to and say, in other words, you cannot do this blanket criticism, especially when you do not have the specific cases. He's provided those cases now. You accept that he has a case, the Minority Chief Whip?
Evans, to begin with, let me correct a few things. Mr. Yawachampo Boafo is the president of the Ghana Bar Association. He's not a certain person who just holds himself as the president of the Ghana Bar Association, so that must be corrected. Now, as lawyers, we deal with evidence. And just mentioning the cases does not satisfy the requirement of criticizing the judgment. If you have a judgment against you and you want to appeal, there are certain things you look out for. What do you disagree with in that judgment? You don't just say, I disagree. No, it doesn't happen like that. Because the appeal gives you an opportunity for the matter to be reheard. So you must specify areas that you are convinced, by your knowledge of the law, that the judge got it wrong. Now, the fact that past justices and judges have criticized judgments does not amount to evidence on his part to do what he's doing. Let's put it right. Nobody is saying that judges and the judiciary, for that matter, is above criticism and reproach. It is the way and manner it is done. I have said before, when it comes to lawyers criticizing judgment, it is sad that lawyers no longer do not want to write in what we call the review of Ghana law. That is a publication by the publishers of the law report, Ghana Law Report, that is the Council for Law Reporting, in which you can critique a judgment by doing analysis based on your knowledge and understanding of the law. Then you arrive at a conclusion, determining the merits and demerits of the case. Based on that, everybody else can say that you are right or you are not right. But sadly, it appears some of our lawyers do not even read the judgments. Then they begin to comment. Some of them rather listen to political commentators and follow suit. I think that is the concern of the president of the GBA. And the fact that the minority chief whip says that judgments lack clarity, that does not necessarily amount to miscarriage of justice. That must be known. As I said, just to reiterate, if you have a problem with the judgment, you must be specific as to the aspects of the judgment or the ruling you have a problem with. It cannot be just a nebulous like that.
In this specific case, at least in one of the cases he cites, which is the one that bordering on the birth certificate.
Yes, and I'm saying that
he says in that when the current Chief Justice, for example, came before their committee to be vetted, and as part of the documents that she herself presented, She presented a copy of her birth certificate. And on that document, he says it had a column for citizenship. And that column, he says, confirmed that that is a document officially that acknowledges your citizenship, your Ghanaian citizenship. And yet, a judgment then is delivered that contradicts that position. And that, for him, it's a basis to render that judgment, he says, without clarity and a miscarriage of justice.
Evans, are you saying that? Is he saying that the fact that there's a column headed citizenship makes the document a document that can be used to prove citizenship? There may be a column that, but in the view of the court, it doesn't pass for that. And he can disagree with the current Chief Justice, what she said at the vetting. But that does not still mean that there's been miscarriage of justice. The fact that you disagree does not mean that. Let's get that to right. And also, the concern is that to say that all these things happen under former Chief Justice Eni Yeboah, so he wasn't too good a Chief Justice. I disagree. Let us understand it. The Chief Justice does not interfere with the work of any judge or any magistrate. Well, he has no right to do that.
Well, he argues in his reaction that he takes ultimate responsibility if things go wrong.
He may be the head of the judiciary, but it doesn't mean that, even you have a newsroom, you have a news desk, how do you call it? News editor.
The editor, yes.
Yes. If you come on air and you say something outside of your script, is he the one to pay for it?
Well, the principle...
Can they identify you and say that? And let us also
but the principle of ultimate responsibility
judges then deliver judgment not as individuals. That is why it is called a court. The judgment of Judge A is the judgment of the court. And the fact that it's delivered by Judge A does not mean that it is personal judgment. It's the judgment of the court, because the court is a non-human person which must act through a human person. That's why the judges are there. So a judge's court, a judge's judgment is judgment of the court and not a personal judgment of hers or his.
I mean, you called him out, but you also acknowledged that he said it on the floor, so he's protected by privilege. Nothing can happen to him. However, in the case of lawyers, and you've mentioned it on the show as well, the president did the same, who also go out publicly to criticize and go beyond what is permitted in the profession. Why are we not seeing sanctions then? You are the association. You have all these judges who also sit on panels with a lot of power. You're calling out a politician, but what about your own who are out there doing this and you're criticizing them? But where are the sanctions? If you're not sanctioning them, then non-lawyers will do worse, and you lose that moral authority to call them out.
No, Evans, I think you didn't get me right. This is not about sanctioning people. It's about us nurturing the law and developing it. And I said that there's an accepted process through which judgments can be critiqued and published. And we have always encouraged lawyers to do this. If you remember, after our mid-year conference in Labadi last year, you interviewed me on this same matter. I made the same point that, look, lawyers should feel encouraged to write their opinions and positions or judgments through critiques in the review of Ghana law. That is the way we nurture the law and develop it.
I guess the question I'm asking you is, if they choose not to do what you've just prescribed, but they go, say, hold a press conference or in an interview, and they attack judges, not the judgment, you're saying it's okay and there are no sanctions within your profession for conduct like that?
Evans, it's never okay. That is why, if you listen to the speech that the president read, he was clear that the unfortunate thing is that lawyers even do that. But let us also know that once the case is over, it's no longer before the court. People are free to comment on it, to scrutinize it, to criticize it, but it must be properly done without personal attack on individual judges involved in those cases. That's what we're saying. So for our members, of course, if you've done something that is unethical, a legal counsel will deal with you. But so far, what we're saying is that it appears they are opening the Pandora's box for just anybody, the public, to say things. For the minority, the leader, I don't know his background, but I believe he's not a lawyer, so I don't fault him. But the concern more has to do with lawyers who should be doing the proper things through writing the critique and having them published in the review of Ghana law. so that our system will develop. They're going to sit somewhere and just pass comment without necessarily even reading the judgment or the rulings. It's unfortunate. That was the concern of the president, and we've always held this concern. Because I am wondering how a lawyer will be commenting on a legal document without first and foremost reading it. That is dangerous.
Xavier, thank you very much. And Xavier Kuje is the spokesperson for the Ghana Bar Association. Still live here on Top Story on Joy 99.7 FM. Another story we're watching closely for you is what may happen tomorrow morning if government fails to reach an agreement with the independent power producers. They've threatened to shut down power plants across this country tomorrow morning if government fails to reach an agreement. And we understand that today there have been a series of meetings, and the last time we checked, these meetings are still underway. An agreement may or may not have been reached yet. My colleague who has been following this for us all day joins me in the studio right now. Aviji, tell me, you've been working your sources on this. Do we have any clarity on where they are?
So what we are learning is that the government meeting has ended, but the outcome, they are tightly on the outcome, giving the opportunity to the IPPs to tell us their official position on that. As we speak, the IPPs are holding a meeting amongst themselves, as they told us in the morning. They are having their internal meeting before they come out with an official communication on what the step forward will be. But what we know is that no matter what steps they take, especially if they decide to shut down the plant, not all of them would obey that directive, because we know that some of them have accepted some amount of payment from government already. We do not know the exact amount they are paid, because we know collectively they are demanding for 30% of the $1.73 billion. We do not know how much they are paid, but if they collectively decide to shut down the plants tomorrow, it is clear that not all of them would obey that directive. So we await what they will tell us officially, maybe in the next few hours.
Well, a government and the ECG that has been leading the negotiations, they remain very confident that a shutdown of the plants and doom salt will be averted tomorrow morning. We keep a close eye on this developing story, and once we get further clarity, we will bring it to you. You can catch it on myjoyonline.com and across our many social media platforms. Gonna connect in a minute.
Hey, you ever buy credits where you get up to 20% of your money back before? Make I tell you about Vodafone's demo promo. See, anytime you recharge a demo, you get up to 20%, whether it be short code or your Vodafone cash wallet, or you don't use credit transfer to
the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. Our sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant, and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shiashi Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the international airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
I've got Bellpack and I won't let go. My name is Nanama McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bellpack tea roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bellpack tea roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bellpack kitchen towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bellpack kitchen towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bellpack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Bellpack is simply the best. Bellpack, just perfect.
To be a Bellpack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Bellpack.
Isn't life wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled? Hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb
Setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your clients in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery, and equipment. Visit our head office, Osuakwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST Campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 03